Hi, my name is Michelle and welcome to my YouTube channel where we talk about everything Christianity and a little bit of love and marriage. And today we're going to be talking about an interesting interview that the very popular singer Fantasia did with the Breakfast Club, and she talks about submission. We're going to talk about what some people get wrong about submission and what it actually means. I just want to talk about that generational thing. Many in the Black community grew up without having a father figure in the home. So a lot of times the mother would play the role as father and mother. And this was the same for me. Sometimes my dad wasn't around for long stretches of time, and I have friends and family members who didn't have their dad around, and this was the case. With this, a lot of us grow up seeing that and thinking, okay, well, as the woman, we are supposed to lead. We're supposed to be the head of the family. It's not what God designed the role of the wife to be, or the woman to be. The wife submits to the husband, and the husband has to submit to God. And we'll talk more about what that means later. You have a wife who wants to make the decisions and lead in the relationship. That can cause butting of heads. I've seen it before, and it causes friction in the relationship because the woman is trying to take the role that the man is naturally inclined to. And this is why it's so important that we as women, we rest in our femininity and rest in the role that God called us to be. And that can be hard, especially if you are more inclined to lead and to be a leader, or if you're very smart and intelligent and have all these great ideas and feel like you know what's right and what's the best decision for you and the family. But in submitting to our husbands, or father figures, or any figure, even submitting to our bosses at work, because all of us submit. People make it seem like submission is this bad thing, but literally all of us do it. We all have to submit to someone at any point in time in life. And with submission, you have to humble yourself, and you have to get under the mission and the authority and leadership of another person.
It's a generational curse in how society have placed our men, and women have to stand up and be the mother and the father and the provider. And so then now you are so bad, you can't be told nothing, that when the right man come, you lose him because you're trying to be the man. I was gonna say right. Man.
Can we be equal?
Oh, of course. Was that
You know, I could lead in my household. I could do this in my household. What does that mean?
That's not how it's supposed to be, and that's why we bump heads. And I feel like it's a generational thing. And we can go real deep on that, and I don't need to start that, but it's a generational curse.
Mm-hmm.
And how society have placed our men. Mm-hmm. And women have to stand up and be the mother and the father and the provider. And so then now you are so bad, you can't be told nothing, that when the right man come, you lose him because you're trying to be the man. I was going to say,
right.
Man.
Can we be equal?
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm. But see, at the end of the day, I'm the neck, my man's the head. So he can't make any moves without his wife. You know what I mean? It all works together. But you can't be the head of the house. You got to let the man be the head of the house. But it's a generational thing, and it's what we've been taught. To stand up, be strong, be the, you know what I mean? And a dude come, and everything about you is like a man.
This just goes back to what I was saying, in that women, I feel like especially in the Black community, we struggle with that because a lot of us, like I said, grew up without the father in the home. So we grew up not seeing our dads there and seeing our moms be the father and the mother. And it is what it is. It happened. And thank God for our mothers and our grandmothers and other figures who took that role of the father. But it can make it hard for us now, being adults and moving into relationships, in that we find submission to be this taboo thing, this hard thing to do as women. I think it just takes practice. I think it just takes trust and humility, because in order to submit to someone, you have to trust them, you have to trust their judgment and their decision making, And that can be hard if you have a spouse or say a boss or whatever, because like I said, you don't have to submit to just your husband, you have to submit to your boss, your pastor. If you have somebody who might be a little more timid compared to you, or just not confident in themselves and their decision making, that's when you can step in as the wife, as the encourager, or as the employee, to just, you know, kind of encourage them and tell them, you know, you trust them, you trust their decision making, and that they can be better. And not just that, but praying for them, praying for your spouse, your husband, to be better and to be a better person, to be stronger minded. I wanted to add that when you do have a spouse who you don't trust them with their decision making, you're struggling with submitting to them, it is important to know that you as a spouse, you do have the power to influence the decision and to act in the decision making process. You bring up, okay, this is things that I know, these are things that, you know, is important, and you might not have thought about this. So it's a joint decision making process. It's not just a dictator making the decisions and you're just a doormat and you don't have any say. Like Fantasia said, we as wives, we are the neck, and that they don't make moves without your say so. So I just wanted to add that. Ephesians 5:22 through 25 and 28 through 29 and 33 says, "Wives, submit unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything." So you see, we are called to love and to respect our husbands and to honor them as the head of the household, just as Christ is the head of the church. But we play an important role as well.
At the end of the day, I'm the neck, my man's the head. So he can't make any moves without his wife. You know what I mean? It all works together. But you can't be the head of the house. You got to let the man be the head of the house. But it's a generational thing, and it's what we've been taught. Stand up, be strong, be the, you know what I mean? And a dude come and you, everything about you is like a man.
Ephesians 5:28 through 29 says, "Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself." For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, even as the Lord the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. What did she say? Yeah, so we as women, we have a responsibility of being the neck, like she said. And I love that analogy that the husband is the head, but we are the neck. That he comes to us with decision making and he submits to us in coming to us. And we submit to him with allowing him to have the final decision. So like she said, like we're not just doormats as women submitting to our husbands. We're not just doormats. We play a role in the decision-making process, and at the end we do submit to our husbands with whatever it is he decides to do. And in doing that, we honor God, because we are saying, okay, God, I might not agree with what my husband is saying, but I'm just gonna leave this in your hands. Sorry, that was my dog. But Lord, I'm just gonna leave this in your hands and I'm gonna submit to my husband. Lord, I'm just going to leave this in your hands and I'm going to submit to my husband. And trust me, I have had situations where I didn't agree with what my husband wanted to do. So I just prayed to the Lord, and the Lord, the Lord brought certain things to my husband, like, hey, like maybe you should think about this, and he considered it and went a different way with the decision making. That's why it's so important with this submission, with this conversation about submission, that you find a spouse, find a partner who you're able to submit to. Don't just find any old man, because when you submit to someone, you're submitting to them and you're all in. And you don't want to submit to someone who you don't want to submit to. Like if they're willing to do things that aren't biblical or are just morally wrong, you do not want to find yourself in a situation where you're submitting to that. So at the end of the day, submission is just all about respecting and honoring our spouse and honoring the decisions that they make for the household and for our families. And it's just about honoring them. But I also wanted to add that husbands, they have to, it says in the verse that they are to love us, the wives, and give their lives for them, while we are called to love them and follow them. So they have having a higher responsibility, they have a higher responsibility to God for us, and that they are to give their lives for us if that's the case. And if they make a decision that's not towards God, that's not godly and not biblical, then God places upon their shoulders a heavier punishment. So know that with submission, it's not just this dictator, like situation. Like the man is supposed to be submitting to God, and you are supposed to be submitting to your husband. So there's like a checks and balance with this situation. But that's all I have for you all today. I really hope that you liked this video and that it blessed you. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm a small YouTube channel, and I cannot keep going. I can't keep going without your help. So Lord willing, thank you for watching, and Lord willing, I will see you on the next one. Bye.